Let's hear from Pop Turner speaking to Verity Marks about Elevator Game, which is streaming now on Shudder just in time for spooky season. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
You know, I've been interviewing like the whole cast for this movie, and I just love the excitement of like just going in and making this movie with, you know, your friends from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, and then like boom, it's on Shudder. Like it was a pretty cool process, right, for everyone?
Yeah, it was. It was so amazing.
And you know, it's interesting because especially, you know, the beginning of the movie, kind of finding out about this, like kind of this web show crew and everyone has its different roles and everything. Obviously, this movie is kind of like your traditional kind of, it has a lot of the jump scares and gore, but I really enjoyed kind of the web show component of it and the digital, like YouTube kind of sphere and everything. Is that something you liked to read in the script for this one specifically too?
Yeah, it was. It was so, the whole Nightmare on Dare Street thing was such a fun concept to play with and work with, and the YouTube channel. And it's popcorn horror, and it's so fun to watch, and it was so fun to be a part of. And yeah, it was so fun to read in the script, and it was great. I loved it.
Are you a fan of horror movies? Like, can Verity Marks watch horror movies?
I can. I don't watch as much as I want to. I need recommendations actually, but my thing is I love being scared. I don't know why. So horror movies for me, I've always loved them. I love sitting in a theater, the whole experience, sweating.
I will send you recommendations, okay?
Please
and
do,
here's the thing,
do.
you're on Shudder right now, and you're in very good company. Like, there's some really good horror movies on Shudder.
There is 100%.
I just recommended Gino and Alec a few, and they watched them, and they were like, "Oh my god, like great recommendations."
Yeah, please send them my way.
Yeah, I gotta send them your way for sure. Did it have moments for you when you were filming it? Because depending on the scenes and everything, there's a lot of things you're gonna go in and like it's gonna look a lot different in post in terms of like how you filmed it and everything. But were there some scenes that you shot that like felt scary or like not really?
No, there definitely was.
Okay.
I remember it was actually on the first day of filming. It was when we filmed Chloe's scene in her bedroom when she's doing the research on the fifth floor woman. And Samantha, who plays the fifth floor woman, she was on set that day and she was warming up, stretching, kind of getting ready. And it was when me and her were talking for a bit and she was full in hair, makeup, prosthetics, in costume, everything.
Oh my goodness.
And I was watching her stretch and warm up at the end of the corner after I was talking to her, kind of getting in character. And just watching that, I was like, oh my God, this is like, it kind of sunk in like, this is what's happening. And anytime, I don't know how much we want to spoil, but
oh man, I don't know if you had a chance to like watch clips of my interviews with Gino or Madison. We dived into spoilers.
Okay,
it was so
great. I'll say it then. Watch the movie if you haven't. But Maddie's death scene, when she's coming out of the dark corner, I remember on the day filming that, it was all the tears, all the hyperventilating came so naturally just because she's so amazingly talented at what she does. And it was just watching it was just mind-blowing.
Well, here's the thing. So, spoiler alert for people who haven't watched the movie. There's no final guy or girl in this movie.
Yeah.
And I was surprised that you and Gino's character, Ryan, didn't survive. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I know, I get it. You know what I mean? And it's interesting because, like, you see this kind of cool bond and potential kind of, like, relationship sparking between them where she's showing him around and everything. And then, like, they're the final two left. And it's kind of just like, all right, let's go. And then it's like,
nope.
No. And, like,
no, but
continue, sorry.
Oh, no, for sure. I think that's what's so great about it is no one is expecting it and it throws you off because you think it's got to be, if it's not both of them that make it out of this, you know, it's got to be one of them. And I think that was a great little twist at the end.
Spoiler alert again.
Big one.
This is like the biggest spoiler of all time.
Yeah.
I did an interview once for another like horror movie on Shudder and like I was diving into spoilers and the guest was like, whoa, like you're just going for it.
Can you say that?
All right. There's a really cool scene in this movie with Alec's character Chris and Gino's character Ryan where your character is kind of there seeing everything and reacts a certain way. And I want your opinion on this. I've been asking your whole cast this question because it's something I really love about the movie, because it's obviously this horror movie, popcorn horror, like you said. It's got the gore, the jump scares and everything. But there was a really good dramatic kind of component of this when, you find out basically that Chris is not just this jerk. You know what I mean? He's not this conceited jerk who has a web show and thinks he's amazing. Ryan comes to the crew. We find out that, there's some ties involving Elevator Game and his sister Becky, played by Megan Best. And there's this shift where everyone, including your character, Verity, finds out that Chris is not just a jerk. He's a villain. Like, he's a bad person. And, like, your character really reacts and, like, jumps in. So what was that like, kind of reading all that on the script? And what was that like actually doing that on camera? Like, I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I remember reading it in the script. I definitely knew that was going to be a big day, and that was going to be kind of the bulk of shooting that day. And it was exactly. It was such a long, it's one continuous scene. It's about, like, I think 7 pages of straight dialogue. Mm-hmm. And reading it in the script and watching it on the final kind of thing, it's so funny because it's such a serious pinnacle point, character point for Alec, who, by the way, couldn't be farther from Chris. He's such an amazing guy. I love him so much. But filming it couldn't have been, like, more silly to film. Yeah. It was so hard. I felt so bad because all of us just kept breaking character because it's such a tense moment. And Alec and Gino just kept, like, raising the energy and the level. And it was amazing to watch. But I felt so bad because, especially, like, I remember one part specifically, I had to keep looking at the ground or covering my mouth or looking. I couldn't make eye contact with anyone because I looked straight at Madison and just burst out laughing just because the tension, you could cut it with a knife. But it was so fun to film. Once we did get it, we ruined a lot of takes, unfortunately. But watching the final thing, I'm so proud and happy with how it turned out because it was just so amazing.
Well, there's a lot kind of going on. Like, a lot of you are very close friends in real life, specifically, Gino and Alec, who have to be like, they hate each other in that moment, right? So
and they're inseparable.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too where I feel like that component of that movie, though, specifically like with your character as well, it really showed like oh my God, like we're not doing, like we're not doing good, like we're not doing any services but for everyone by like having a guy like this around. Like, what is going on? We have to rethink our whole strategy. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those kind of moments where it's like that happens and it's like this this channel can't go on, maybe.
Yeah.
If you think about it, like, it was a very like dramatic scene in that regard.
100%. The characters, they're so amazing by themselves, the way they're written, but as a dynamic work so well together because everyone's so individually different from each other. And one of the things I like is that how if you were to take any two of the characters like Maddie and Izzy or Chloe and Chris, it would be so great to watch because just the banter that they all have with one another or one-on-one is just, it's written so amazing. So I'm so glad with how it turned out.
And we said, the film's streaming now on Shudder, which is incredible. And I'm so happy for, your cast, your crew, the writers, directors. Like, it's unbelievable because it really is the horror movie fans, like, dream playground, if you think about it. Like, it's so amazing. So what is that like? Like, what is that like being part of Shudder specifically? Is it starting to sink in a little bit?
It hasn't, it still hasn't. I'm so happy because I love working on horror movie sets. Is just so much fun. And what was great was all the crew as well. They were just as big horror fanatics as all of us were. So it was just a great set to be on. Everyone's so creative, but yeah, it was just amazing. I love watching whenever I wasn't shooting and anyone not specific had a death scene. If I could watch that and be on set to see it, I would, because I just loved watching the breakdowns of the scares and the sets and the atmosphere they create, and it just added so much to the performance.
I mean, spoiler alert for Elevator Game, there's a lot of death scenes. There's a lot.
There's a lot, yes.
And like, Gino thinks it was like open to interpretation. Like, where are you, like, everyone? I'm like, you're gone.
Well,
like,
you know.
No, I've been thinking about this for a while. You're gone. No one's finding you.
He is in another realm. It would be pretty hard to get to, but you know.
At the end of the movie, and I loved it, the first person that's trying to find all of you is Toast.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
No, it's crazy too, because horror movies have been around forever, Verity, but like the landscape of it is so massive, and there's such an appetite for the content right now. When do you feel like you started kind of like noticing that? Because you said you love working at horror movie sets and everything, but like, was it like maybe during the pandemic where you started realizing the popularity of horror movies? Because they've always been around, but there's been this really big like surge lately, I feel like.
Yeah. I think for me, at least during the pandemic, you know, you're at home. All I really could do was binge watch so many movies. I swear at one point I'd seen everything on Netflix. I was like, I need something new. And then out of nowhere, just this surge of new movies and horror movies were coming. And it was, you know, not to get dark, but you were kind of in these like somber, kind of depressing.
Totally.
So it was just refreshing almost to watch it, and that's
so many. Remember, there's also catch up too, where you look at like when you find like a 2018 horror movie where you're like, this is like the greatest thing I've ever watched, and it's like from like 4 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're like, oh my gosh.
And it's so crazy. And you know what else they could watch? They could watch Elevator Game streaming now on Shudder.
And they should watch it.
Oh, they should. I had a great time. It felt like, don't you find the equivalent of watching a horror movie is like going on a roller coaster?
100%.
I feel like that. Like, I love roller coasters, so I love like the thrill. And
you get the same hit in your stomach that you do.
It's like an event too. I just went to go see The Nun 2 in theaters, and like I just loved just getting to the theater. You know, you get your popcorn, you sit down, and you're just like immersed. You know what I mean? Like you really get into it. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Dude, it's the surround sound that gets you.
The sound of horror movies is incredible. I remember seeing Boogeyman this summer, and like the sound of that movie was so good. It
adds so much.
The sound in Elevator Game is good too, streaming now on Shudder. You always got to plug.
You do.
Verity, so great chatting with you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun.
Elevator Game streaming on Shudder. Perfect timing for spooky season. It could be on horror movie marathons. You can watch it. Very fun horror movie. A lot happening. A lot going on. Again, watch the movie before you watch this interview because there's a lot of spoilers.
Yes, please.
Your Instagram account, if they just put Verity Marks, they'll find it, right?
Yes, just Verity Marks, my name.
Awesome. Well, this has been Popturnative. YouTube.com/Popturnative for previous episodes. Until next time, you can catch Verity Marks in Elevator Game streaming on Shudder. And Peter Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popturnative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popturnative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.